middle of chapter 4 or letter number 4 in the holy letters, Iggeres Hakodesh, and we're discussing understanding how tzedakah, why particularly giving tzedakah is such a key part of bringing Moshiach. We said the coming of Moshiach is integral to have tzedakah. Tzedakah, we see the Rebbe gave tzedakah constantly. Tzedakah was a huge part of what it says in the books and the practice that we do to bring Moshiach. And here, the Alter Rebbe starts off this letter that tzedakah is the path to bring Moshiach. So to explain this, he explained what is redemption. And then once we understand what's redemption, we can understand what's needed to bring it about. And to explain redemption, we explained just real briefly that the idea of redemption takes place in our personal journey, in our micro world, and in the big world, in the big giant world. So in our personal world, we have all the experiences of life, the going out of Egypt, the story of the splitting of the sea, the giving of the Torah, and we have exile in our personal journey. What does exile mean? Exile means that there's a real me called my soul, my neshama, my pintel yid, and that comes into my body, and it's an exile. It can't express itself, which means on a day-to-day level, I'm not functioning on my real self. I'm functioning based on my experiences in this world. Somebody offended me, somebody embarrassed me, I am hungry, I'm tired, I'm in a grumpy mood, I'm in a mood, I have strong temptations. All my function of self is loaded and burdened and covered with all the experiences of exile, and I'm not being the real me. So what does redemption mean? Let the real me come out. Who's the real me? The godly soul. Everything else is just layers. The real me is the godly soul that wants to express itself and do a mitzvah and connect to Hashem. That's my true identity. Everything else is layers. What we have to do is try and let Moshiach means, in my personal life, redemption means let my soul free. Let my nefesh, my soul, my identity come free. And the same things within the world. What's the world? The world is the true identity is godliness. The true identity is Hashem. And what happens throughout the experiences of klippa, negativity, inappropriate behavior, things that happen and bad, the Jewish people sins in the times of the temple, it brought about all these layers, and we're standing in a state of goyla. Goyla means exile. What do we have to do? Don't change anything. Just bring in the aleph. The aleph, which changes the word from goyla to geula. That's the difference in the word. The aleph means we reveal godliness. Reveal the aleph, the aluf shel olam, reveal godliness in the world. So in other words, we have to do that personally, and whatever we do in our personal space ends up affecting the world globally. So what does that mean for us? It means we have a level inside of ourselves called Leman Chayecha. Leman Chayecha is a part of ourselves, our fire, our spirit, who we are. That fire is meant to be focused on saying Moda'ani in the morning, washing our hands, saying the brachas when we eat, davening, doing a mitzvah. Instead, sometimes it gets to my cheese Danish, my place in the shul, the scratch on my car, the way my hair came out that day, or for me, it's the fluffiness of my beard. How's your day going? But what gets us all worked up is my personal space, myself. What does it mean? The Leman Chayech has been hijacked. My pnimius, my essence. And the truth is, you want to get into the heart. He spoke in the beginning of the chapter that there's two parts of a soul. There's pnimius halev and chetzenius halev. Pnimius halev means all the things I do because it makes sense to me. I do things because that's logical. I'm nice to people who deliver my mail. I'm polite to my person that assists me at work. I'm good to my Uber driver. I'm nice to my cousins. These are all things that are doing because it makes sense and it's smart. Then you have your things that's pnimius, like my real me. The fact that I like my children, or I like my spouse, or I like my parents. That's not because I made a calculation. You know what? They do good things. It's your true identity. If you're not feeling that way, it means you have blockage. No one has to explain to you why you should like your parents. You have to just do it. If you have experiences that made a fight in your relationship, or you had a problem, get rid of them. Once you get rid of those problems, you don't have to go, now let me tell you a good reason why you should. It's natural to like your children, like your parents, because that's your identity. No one has to explain to you. If someone has to explain to you reasons why you should like your children, you probably should seek some counseling, because a child you love just because they're your child, which means that's the innermost part of our soul. It's not called irrational. It's not irrational, it's super rational. There are some things in the world that are irrational. It's irrational to eat a glass bulb. To eat a light bulb is irrational. No one could say, wow, look at this tremendous dedication. It's not rational. but it's super rational to love your children even though they're giving you a hard day. Why? Because I don't love them because of reasons. I love them much deeper, which means super rational means it's not a logical love. I don't have reasons for it. This is my identity. So you have things that you do that's less than rational, doing foolish things, and things that you do that are super rational. They're above logic. They're super rational. That's your pnimis neshama. That pnimis neshama, for some people, it gets caught into the rat race of the society. I sometimes forget it. I'm so busy chasing my job, chasing my interest, chasing my whatever my personal pursuit is today, that I don't take care of my family. I don't take care of myself. I don't do things for Yiddishkeit. Why? Because I'm not thinking. I made this my career, my life, my most important thing, which means I took that which was supposed to be my super rational true self, and I sold it out without realizing it for something which is not as important. I took my cell phone and put that in front of my relationships. I took my interest in whatever it might be, someone's personal journey of their own distraction, and put that, for most people, it comes out to be, especially back in the day, well, also today, their job. People put their job, their parnasa, in front of everything. People, they're working so hard to make a living, they never see their kids. They don't go to their kids' baseball games and football games. They don't have a supper. Why? I got to earn money for the family. Just be with the family. It becomes an irrational pursuit that I am 1,000% dedicated. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about here that my pnimis halev is in prison. It has to be redeemed. And that's what we're talking about here. And the Alter Rebbe says, how does somebody redeem their pnimis halev from prison if you gave it over? And it doesn't have to be a job. It could be any temptation, chocolate, or whatever your personal temptation is that comes before what's important to you. For some people, it's sleep. For some people, it's whatever it might be. That my personal ambitions and excitement and passion is not towards davening and learning. It's not towards Hashem. I have something else. I make time for Hashem. It says every person has a part of their life is for God, and a part of life is for self. The question is, what's your important part? What comes first? What's your priority, and then what do you fit in afterwards? So the question we're addressing here is, and we're talking about this time, this is where we're going to start from today, is how does somebody go out of exile? How does somebody go out of Gullus? It's through tzedakah. And the Alter Rebbe is going to explain now why tzedakah. How does tzedakah take you out of exile? And what we said in the last class before we took our little break here, we spoke about the idea of a awakening from below has to come always make awakening from above, which means I have to do my part first. I take the first step, and Hashem takes the second step. And we explained there's two usual parts how this works. One part is where I take a step, and my step is a strong, good step, and Hashem's response is commensurate, proportionate to my step. Like if I work for a few hours, you pay me for a few hours, which means the response I get from God is all based on me. It's based on I earn something, I get a reward based on that. So if I gave over, for an example, to a company, I gave a week's work, you give me a week's pay. That's called Isarusah Dal Sata, the awakening from below, which awakens a response from above. Then you have in Isarusah Dal Sata, which awakening from below, which doesn't really elicit a response which is commensurate. It just pushes a button that suddenly God says, hey, you woke up? Now I'm going to take care of you. And I'm not getting paid based on what I did. I'm getting an irrational, as we say in our world today, a disproportionate response, which means I can go and do something, which is, I bought somebody, flowers for Shabbos, and they might give me a donation or a gift of $10,000. What's the connection? I felt a love from your flowers. I want to reciprocate and buy you a new car. Why is that? It's not because I'm paying for your flowers. You touched me in a certain way. I want to respond. That's called a response from Hashem. That's not based on our actions. It's based on that we did something. Hashem responds based on his actions, based on himself. So a much greater response. And that's what we're talking about here, awakening within Hashem, not a tit for tat, not that we did something, Hashem pays us back for that. We push a certain button and Hashem responds a billion times over. And that's what we're talking about here. And what is that button we can push? It's called tzedakah. And that's what we're up to. The Tanya here, this is just the background. So what we're really talking about is how do we set ourselves free? So let's dedicate today's learning for all those who need blessings, especially in Eretz Yisrael. Hashem should give protection. We'll see this letter actually was written. There's not a dispute, but there's uncertainty when the letter was written. 1798, right after his release from his first imprisonment, or was it, 1798, right after his release from his first imprisonment, or was it written in 1801 after his release from his second imprisonment? Well, certainly it's a release from imprisonment, as we see in the last few lines of the chapter. So, but the concept we're talking about here is giving tzedakah, particularly for Israel. That's what the letter is for. It's a fundraising letter for Israel. we have time at the end, if I don't forget, I want to talk about how this letter really is the ultimate Rebbe Chassid letter, something much deeper than just tzedakah. It's talking about the Rebbe Chassid relationship, and hopefully we'll have time at the end to get there. Okay, we're on page, what would be 211, or page Kuf Vav. If you have the Hebrew, it's page Kuf Vav. We're about halfway down. The first word on the line is, it's an acronym, Bei Zayin Lamed Ayin Zayin Bazelu Mazeh, and we're going to the third word, V'hainu. V'hainu al Yedei, if you see that. Page Kuf Vav, you see it, Kuf Vav? V'hainu. It's the third word. Page, yeah, this is pages are a little extra here. You got extra pages for free. They threw them in. Here. V'hainu al Yedei. V'hainu, so what's this sort of special tool that we can use to bring about redemption? To give tzedakah to Hashem from your money. And each word the Alter Rebbe uses here in particular, I'll just give you an example. The word Lashem, it doesn't say to give tzedakah. It says to give tzedakah to Hashem. And it says money from your money. Where else to give tzedakah from? Someone else's money. So he's first of all saying Lashem means to give tzedakah to Hashem means I'm giving tzedakah because of Hashem. In other words, there's a story with Simcha Banim, a great Hasidic, tzaddik, who he once went to visit a very poor man's house. And he saw the poor man he stayed in his house, and he said, I have no food, no clothes, his house is all broken. So he went and arranged to get some food for the guy, to get some clothes for the person, have somebody repair the leaks and the breaks in his little shack. And then he said, as he's walking out, I hope one day I'll have the schus to give you tzedakah. So the person says, didn't you do tzedakah? He says, no, this I did for me. It hurt me to see you like this. I didn't do it for tzedakah. Tzedakah means I'm doing it, meaning the next level, I'm not doing it because I feel bad for you. I'm doing it because this is what Hashem wants. This was really what my heart couldn't handle to see a fellow Jew like this. What does Lashem mean? Lashem means a lot of times we have tzedakahs that we this is my charity. I care about this. I couldn't handle to see this. Those are all beautiful acts. But at the end of the day, we're still using our rationale that makes sense to us. Real tzedakah means when I don't really want to give it, either because I gave enough, I already gave charity, or because I don't think this person deserves it, or because it's not my problem, it's someone else's problem. All the reasons you could think of. So why am I doing it? Hashem wants me to. There's a different level of tzedakah, and it's not that the first one doesn't count, but it's a much higher level when you're doing it, and it's not my thing. I like to give towards, research for this, and to give towards this. You know what? That's very nice. It's like the Rebbe once I saw in a Mahimer said, what's called joy of a mitzvah? He said, Simchas Torah when you're dancing. And you danced, and after a certain while, okay, I'm done. Now start dancing for the mitzvah. Until now you dance because you were fried dancing. Now start dancing because Hashem said so, meaning because it's Yom Tov. Until now I danced. You were giving tzedakah until now because you felt this is such how could I sleep at night when this person doesn't have a bed? This is tzedakah. Hashem means I'm giving tzedakah not for me, but because Hashem said so. Money means for my money. What's my money mean? A person, as we'll see in a moment, can have money, but that's not my money. What does it mean? I have so much money. If I give away from this, it doesn't affect me. I have a lot of money. So of course it's my money, but I don't feel when it's not there. Like, for example, let's say me an example, I'm worth millions of dollars. So when I give $100,000 to charity, I don't even notice the difference. So I don't feel like I give charity. If I want to give, somebody once came to the Rebbe in the early years, and he's a very wealthy man, and he asked, I think California, I forgot where he's from, and he asked the Rebbe, how much tzedakah should I give? The Rebbe said, until it hurts. That means the guy's, let's say, worth 30 million. The first 26 million you don't feel. When you get down to the last $80,000, now it hurts. Okay. So be careful when you ask the Rebbe for advice on how much you should do a mitzvah. But unless you want the truth, don't ask. So what does it here? Which means to give from your life. That means money that you can use for not just money that I have in the banks, which I'm not going to touch. I'm leaving it maybe for my great-grandkids. I'm talking about money that I have today in my bank account that has $800. $800 I'm going to give away. Ubefrat. Especially the Alter Rebbe is writing, you remember, the Alter Rebbe was writing this letter either in 1798 or 1801. He started collecting, by the way, for Israel in 1887. When Medlar Hadaka moved to Israel, sorry, I keep saying 18, in 1787, he started collecting. So in 1798 or 1801, he writes this letter, he's writing to the Chassidim in Russia and Ukraine who have no money. They're poor, the Alter Rebbe says to them, especially, you might think, why am I writing to you guys? I should write to the rich guys in Lemberg, I don't know, to the rich guys in Moscow. The Rebbe says, I'm writing because the real tzedakah is when you have no money. What does it mean real tzedakah? Of course, you can't compare. The guy who gives $100,000 to the poor of Israel is supporting a lot more than the guy who gives $20. That's as far as the good that you're doing in the world. But how about the transformation and redeeming self? The more it comes out of my ouch, it hurts. That's the more that the tzedakah is real to me. So he says that tzedakah is much more real when it comes from somebody who his money is very limited and he doesn't have it. Sometimes you go to a guy, he says, it's not a good time. Now is the best time. If it's not a good time, this is the time. He says, you're talking about the Chekele Shaita means it's not a good time. My business is doing poorly. It's so counter, how intuitive. Why should noisin michayev mamish, and you're giving from your life itself? So first of all, give to Hashem. Don't give because you feel it. Give it because that's what Hashem wants. Second of all, you're giving, especially when it's difficult. Ubeprotes, especially, there are different types of people that have money. Some people have money because they got a gift. Someone supports them. Some guys get money because their grandparent passed away and left them money. Doesn't have to be a lot, but they have some money. Some people have money because they sit and they fix gardens, or they carry wood, or they chop, they chop wood, they move somebody's snow. This guy, he puts his heart and soul into his himself. He comes home exhausted and numb and tired. This guy, he says, if someone who earns his money by his physical labor, those days they didn't have corporate jobs, so you didn't give that example, but nowadays corporate jobs are also not as difficult, even though some are very stressful. Some can be very emotional, stressing. People are doing phone marketing or, sales. Whatever job takes in itself to put into it. Why? He says, it's impossible that there weren't days that your heart and soul was here, which means you were having a bad day. You came to work, it wasn't easy. And you gave your soul over to your job because you got to work. That means in this money is my soul. Remember that part of ourselves that is just our identity? There are some days if you work with your physical labor, or you work with your stress, or your emotion, or your dedication, your heart and soul, your essence is put into those dollars that you earn. And you take those hard-earned dollars that are your soul. And in chapter 37, a while ago, we spoke about that even if you got the money for free, the fact that you could have bought lunch with it, the fact that you could have paid your mortgage, you could have paid rent, is also counting. But here he's saying, especially if you worked hard to earn it. Like the custom is, people put their heart and soul into working. When someone has a job, he misses supper with his family, he misses visiting friends, doesn't go on all the trips that his friends are doing. They're going to New York, they're going here. I can't go to work. Why? I need to earn the dollars. That means I'm giving up everything for my work. Those dollars that you take, remember, the key here is you want to talk. How can we tap into our essence of our soul? You got to find that essence of your soul in the physical world and open that up, give that away. And when you tap into that, Hashem will free the essence of your soul from the shackles of the physical material constraints, which is redemption. So we're going that way. So he says it here, when a person gives money, which is difficult to give. Now, and now, this time, doesn't have to be every single day live this way. Not everyone can live this way every day, because the Baal Shem Tov was famous. The Rebbe spoke about it in 1963, I think it was. I think it was 1963. It was 100 years. It was 200 years from the passing of the Alter Rebbe. The Rebbe made a surprise for bringing Saturday night. The Rebbe for bringing 3 times that. It made it for bringing exactly the moment the Alter Rebbe passed away. He started the Farbringen, and it was a very unique Farbringen. He started off talking about the Baal Shem Tov. That the Baal Shem Tov never went to sleep at night with money in his house. He never went to sleep with the money in his pocket. There's a whole story. Once he got some money, he got an inheritance or a gift, and he went and gave it away, and he tried to lie in bed, and he couldn't relax. He said, something's wrong. He spoke to his wife. He found out that she bought certain stuff with some of the money. He went and found the stuff she bought, and he gave it away to poor people. Nothing in our home overnight. The cupboards are empty. The fridge is empty. We start fresh tomorrow. There was nothing overnight. So the Rebbe said then, he wants everyone to take all their money out of their pockets and pass it up and give it to him, to give it to tzedakah. People have their wallets on them. People have, a couple $100 in their wallet. That money is like how you hold on to. The credit cards is one thing, but people took out money from their pockets, passed it up. I heard from Shmuel who was telling us about that Farbringen. He said there was one guy who owed somebody else, like, a few $1,000s, this 1960s, He took the money out of his pocket. He goes, here's the money I owe you. Boom. Okay, now you go to the Rebbe. Other guys, there was one guy there who just borrowed money. He was in bad shape. He just borrowed money from somebody who had in his pocket. Money he just borrowed. Should he give it up or not? He didn't. The Rebbe seemed to talk about him, that this person, the Rebbe says, he doesn't realize the opportunity. The Rebbe spoke about real quietly. You can hear him talking about somebody who doesn't realize the opportunity. Anyway, the guy kept the money. It's a whole story what happened. Shmuel, who says he himself, he had a question. He had a couple dollars in his pocket, $2. Where were they from? The Rebbe used to go to the mikveh, by Karstira mikveh, and the Rebbe would pay the guy each time like $2 for the mikveh. So the Bachim would run to the mikveh guy and give him like $5 or $10 and buy off him the $2. That's how you got Rebbe dollars in those days. So there was no dollars on Sundays like you had in the 80s. So he had in his pocket those $2. So he figured the Rebbe doesn't mean like that money. It means real money. Like this is not real money. And he kept it in his pocket. And like 2 weeks later, he felt so bad. He wrote a whole letter to the Rebbe that he kept the $2, and he thinks the right thing is to give it in. The Rebbe took it and said, "Thank you." You know, it was like, yes, it was supposed to be, meaning there was some spiritual thing at that time, but the idea of giving every last penny, it's a crazy thing, but this is a concept. So now he says, this time when a person is mefazer, and the Alter Rebbe uses a very unusual word. He doesn't say when he gives tzedakah. Mefazer means no cheshbon. It's like, let's say I have my daughter gets engaged, or so I have a baby, whatever it is. You're so happy. Take my dollars, take all my 20s, my food. I don't care. It's all doesn't matter today. I'm all in a good mood. It's an attitude. The person gives the money away, not just thinking, oh man, this is my $20 bill that I just earned for working plowing snow. You give it away, sure. That means I'm completely given over. I don't have reservations. This ability is something which is an absolute transformative experience. I'm giving away my hard-earned money, but not difficult. It's easy. It's easy to do it because I understand the value of what this means. He's giving away freely from what he earned. And he gives to God with a gladness of heart. Unbelievable expression. So, and we'll see soon how this ties in very strongly to the days we just finished, the 3 weeks, or just yesterday with Tisha B'Av. So he says, this is the key. This is the way to achieve redemption for your soul. If your soul, the essence of your soul, your true self is locked up, and I can't feel passion and excitement for Yiddishkeit. I know it's a good idea, so I put on tefillin, I light Shabbos candles, I do this, but I don't feel, it's not my natural self. Your natural self is locked up. You for years and years ate those cheese dishes with excitement, and you did what you wanted with excitement, and you talked about it to your friends with excitement. You trained your inner soul to be in prison. This is how you can set it free. With this experience of giving tzedakah in such a fashion, absolute tzedakah, you're saving your soul from shachas, for no better word you can say is hell, but it means the depths. You're saving your soul from that depths. The hainu bechinas nekudas pnimiyis levavi. We're not talking about your soul in general. Your soul is wonderful. Your soul is sweet. Your soul is, you feel Shabbos and you're young and you're having a great time and you're very spiritual. But that's all your logical self, your conscious self, your thinking self, your conclusion self. That's not your deep reactive self. Chase Tao once said, how does somebody do an experiment to find out, they're taking up the old roof. How does somebody do an experiment to find out, am I really a tzaddik or a beinoni? A beinoni means I'm struggling. I have natural tendencies to do sin. A tzaddik means it all comes easy. He says it's a very simple test. For 24 hours, every single impulse that pops into your head and your heart, follow it, act upon it. If after 24 hours you haven't done a sin, you're a tzaddik. Because the impulses, you're probably impulses, most of them should be contained. So he says, your impulses, yourself, how do you free that your real self comes to the fore? Is get into the zone where I learn to give tzedakah and I'll free my soul, free the inside of my soul. That's supra-natural self, my supra-rational self. And this is what this is the type part of your soul that was either in a very coarse gullus or a very fine gullus. What's the difference, coarse and fine? A coarse gullus is when I'm living my life, we're doing little sins or big sins. I'll say little because it sounds nicer, but doing sins. I do things I shouldn't. I do things that whether I talk about people or I little things. I skip the benching, whatever I might do, which is considered for me sins. The fine gullus is I don't do things which are wrong, but I'm very into myself. Things I do, I take care of myself. I like to have the edge of the brownies, the edge piece with ice cold milk in the morning. I like, there's certain taking care of self, not so much purpose, but self. What I want, what I desire, that creates also a shell of desensitize yourself in spirituality. And this is what it says. The Alter Rebbe is going to give a beautiful interpretation to the next few words. It says, Mikol Mishmar Netzer Libcha. From every, it said, the literal translation of this verse means from every from everything you watch, your heart should be watched more than all, which means as much as you should protect your knees from getting boo-boos and getting a skin need, and you should wear a helmet on your head and wear knee pads, most of all, protect your heart, which means make sure your heart's clean. Your heart should remain clean. Like it says in Pirkei Avos, discussion of students of Rabbi Zakai, what's the most important thing? A leiv toiv. Famously, Rabbi Arach said, a leiv toiv, all the things that make a person a good person. It's all about your heart. Your heart has to be clean. That's a simple meaning of the verse. Says the Alter Rebbe, Mishmar could also be a prison. Mishmar could be a jail. Mishmar pirish beis ha'asurim. Make sure you never let your heart go to jail. What does jail mean? Jail means my heart is locked up in a spot that I can't take it out. What could I do? I lust for certain things. I have a grudge against this guy. I want something. The idea that my heart, my soul, myself is trapped. It's not that it says guard yourself, protect your heart from getting stuck. No, make sure your heart is never in jail. Your heart should never be locked up and imprisoned to a certain force. Unfortunately, our nature is, unless we use our intellect and our strength of character, our hearts could pull us to wrong places. Our hearts are natural. Our natural tendencies are, if someone offends us, our ego stands up. If we see something we want it. We want it. Unless we control, it's not good for you, whether it's for health reasons or spiritual reasons. You got to control yourself. He says, don't let your heart go to prison. Pirish beis ha'asurim. V'ata nifte me'achatzonim mitzdakazu. And now when someone gives tzedakah like this, not just you put a coin in a push, which by the way is extremely important to put a coin in the push like we did today. I saw everyone did it. It's a beautiful thing. And it's something else. We were talking until now, the whole definition, we finished it in the previous classes, of circumcision has two parts. The mila and the priya. Mila was the coarse skin that you take off. Priya is a thin membrane. Priya has another definition, pay back. When you owe some loan to somebody and you pay it back, it's called pareya chevi, you pay your debt. The word priya means something else. We have a debt that we created to the klippah. By getting pulled into it and giving into it, we sort of we're subjected to it. We're subservient to it. Pay your debt means I'm buying my freedom. When I go and act in such a way where I give away my last dollar or my third to last dollar, and I give it away happily to help a guy that I really wouldn't want to help, and I worked hard for this dollar, Hashem says, you know what? You just gave away the deepest part of yourself, because that money is different than, you see, giving time. A lot of times, I heard this many times of people, when it comes to fundraising, the guy says, I'd rather make a donation than fundraise. Tell me how much you need me. I'll pay them. I'm not asking for money. But that's the only thing worse than giving money, is asking someone else. And that's actually the biggest reward. It says, the gadol hama'aseh, someone who gets someone else to give tzedakah, it's a bigger mitzvah than giving tzedakah yourself. That's an interesting thing. So the hardest thing to do are the things that are the most important. But giving tzedakah of yourself is the hardest thing to do, aside from asking someone else. In other words, this is the most difficult thing, to part with money that I earned. Again, you can't compare it. The biggest example I always think about is earned money versus gotten money. Is your kids, if you have teenage kids or family, that you gave them $20 as a gift for Hanukkah, they'll spend it in 30 seconds on some nash. But they went and babysit and they earned $20. They're going to think for 4 years how to spend it, because that's my money that I earned. Because you earned something, it's part of you. He said, so this is the tzedakah that does it. The gamke lashon priya means priya chayiv shenes chayiv and ishtabed l'chetzonim. By giving the tzedakah, you paid up your debt that you owe to the forces of klippah. Because it was controlling you until this moment. The forces of klippah controlled you. You allowed them to. You gave in to them. Sure, you want me? I'll do this. I'll do that. It feels good. It's nice. And now suddenly you stood up to it. You paid back your debt. And this is what it means. V'shaveha b'tzedakah. We say in one of the lines that we said the last few weeks, Tzion b'mishpat yipada, Zion, which is Yerushalayim, will be redeemed with mishpat, which means a study of Torah. V'shaveha b'tzedakah, and its inhabitants, meaning its captives, will redeem with tzedakah. And the word v'shaveh, we're actually learning a mime with some of the guys now. V'shaveh in the Shabbos afternoon. V'shaveh b'tzedakah means, it's shaveh doesn't refer to captives. Literally, it means my soul. My soul is a captive. My soul comes down from this high place where it was only interested in spirituality. And so it comes into the world. What the guy's interested in: a cup of coffee, a cheese Danish, a nice car, a different this, a better car. Well, he says hello. He feels like he's in prison. All the things I need to nourish myself is. So v'shaveh b'tzedakah means he redeems the soul. V'shaveh is the soul b'tzedakah. Now we go back and answer the question we asked at the very beginning of this chapter about 3 months ago, whatever it was. We asked the question, why did we say tzedek lefanav yahalech? it says that we say when a person passes away, tzedek lefanav, the tzedakah, it doesn't say we'll go in front, Yiddelech will go in front. It says Yahalech means it will lead you, like pull you along. Yahalech means I'll make others come along with me. Why does it say tzedek lefanav Yahalech? It will make come along instead of say tzedek lefanav Yelech. My tzedakah will go before me. Because this is the answer, Tanya. The tzedakah is what schleps me out. Tzedek lefanav, what's fanav mean? Your pnimius. Yahalech, what will bring out your panav, your pnimius, your true essence of your soul? Tzedakah. So it doesn't just that tzedakah goes before me. Look, marching, a person comes up to heaven, marching in front of you, bum, ba-dum, is the tzedakah, and all the mitzvahs, all the Shabbos candles. No, tzedakah is not marching in front of you. Tzedakah is going in front of you, schlepping you out of your essence, out of anything that was holding it back, and it schleps you. It's Yahalech, it brings your essence forward. Last two lines on the page. V'zehu tzedek lefanav Yahalech. This is what it means, is that tzedek, the righteousness, that's the mitzvah of tzedakah, will go before him, or Yahalech will make walk. He says, first of all, the fun of Umalashim Pnimius. It means the Pnimius is said that tzedakah will take the essence of your soul, not just the external part of your soul. As we explained at the beginning of this chapter, the Pnimius is that natural, supernatural self, that super rational self. And Yahalech means Umalashim Halachashem Meliches Pnimius Halev, top of the next page, Lashem. He will bring the essence of your soul towards Hashem. And then you will be able to walk in the path properly towards Hashem. Like it says, he quotes here two verses. You'll go in his ways. And also it says, both of these verses are from Devarim. Actually, the first quote is from a later pasuk. And after Hashem you will go refers to an earlier pasuk. The difference is, means even when I don't see it. When you say, means I'm going Hashem's ways, I see it. I'm going in the way of Hashem. Hashem is like the Jews in the desert. I don't know. We're going for Blunjet. We're going this way. We're going that way. We could have been there in 2 weeks. It took us 40 years. It's not clear, but I'm following Hashem. Meaning, even when you don't see. We had a couple of days ago in the study of the mitzvahs of the Rambam. We spoke about something called there was 3 places in the Beis Hamikdash that there was a circular staircase. What's it called? Spiral staircase. Thank you. Everyone has to do this when they do the spiral. You can't do it with your finger. Without your finger, it's not even legal. Not even legal to do it. So in Yiddish, it's called Schwindeltrep. And the Baal Shem Tov explains why Schwindeltrep. Schwindeltrep means swindle steps. It doesn't mean spinning, it means swindle. What are they, swindling? And he says, yes, a regular staircase, you see your destination, and you walk up the steps to your destination, you see you're going higher. A Schwindeltrep is constantly turning you around. You're going towards your destination, and you're walking away. Now you can't see my destination. Now you're walking back. But you think you're falling. You're getting lost. But the truth is, each time you're getting closer and closer. And he explains both in the spirit of a person's journey to come to Hashem. A lot of times I'm trying so hard to be more religious, and then I fail. I fall. I turn. I go in the wrong direction. I go back the right direction. Svindle to that. It's misleading. You're going there. You're going up constantly. You just can't see it. And the same thing in life when you have trying to get a job or do a thing or have a family and things flop. They don't go the way you want. You might think it's not going the way I want it to. Svindle to that. You can't see it, but you're constantly getting closer. You look like you went the wrong way. But trust me, this is part of the right way. So a lot of times, this is pasuk here, Hashem Telechu means that I am following Hashem even though I can't see it. With all the mitzvahs, with Talmud Torah connected kulam, with especially the study of Torah, which is equal to all of them. Now we say something very special, and I'm going to try and finish the chapter. It'll take another 10 minutes. He says, there's two, if you remember before, we said there's 2 paths how a person functions. Rational, I go to a person's wedding, my cousin, because it's a good time of the year, I could travel, I have some money, he came to my wedding, the tickets are good, etc. When it's your own kid's wedding, you don't say, I'm going to the wedding because the timing is good, the tickets are cheap. You're going to your kid's wedding. If you're making those calculations, then you're not thinking rationally. You're thinking. There shouldn't be even a question if you're going to the wedding or not. In other words, there's a relationship you have which is rational, and the relationship you have which is much more than rational. It's me, my identity. That's what we're talking about here. He said when a person serves Hashem on a rational level, rational means it makes sense. Hashem is the creator, and I love him, and he takes care of me, and I serve him, etc. That's all beautiful, but that's a very sorry way to say I love my kids, I love my spouse. You know why? They're so nice, they're so good, they're so wonderful. My mother does this. That's not a way. You should love them because they're my mother. You see, God forbid, in older couples, God forbid, one of them is sick, and one of them is not well, and one has to take care of. Someone says, so why do you still love this person? I mean, you don't go play basketball together, you go out for drinks. You fool. It's my spouse. I love the person. So it's a level of love, and this is what we're talking about. When you serve Hashem on a level of making sense, that's chesed halev. Okay, I have reasons. I'll get rewards in heaven. It's a good thing to do. My life is more meaningful. Then you serve Hashem because this. What do you mean? Why? That doesn't come from self. The only way to get there, Hashem has to gift that to you. You can't get there on your own. Just like you can't decide on your own, I'm going to take some random person and treat him like my spouse or like my child. You could, as long as the person doesn't annoy you too much, and then you say, you know what, I'm moving on to someone else. When you have a relationship that's beyond rationale, that's the most truest form of relationship. So the same with Hashem. There's two ways we could do Torah mitzvahs. One is because it makes sense to me, and I thought about it, and I meditate in the morning, and I think about it. That's beautiful, that's great. But there's a greater level. Pnimius halev. Because Hashem gifted me with a relationship with Him, I don't have to convince myself or want to do. This is my identity. That's what he says here. He says it very nicely. He says like this. It goes up to the process of pnimius halev, higher than rationale. Much more. Much greater relationship and ascension to Hashem than the external heart. Watch that. The external heart is things that come only because of my logic. It makes sense to me. It's logical to me. I studied Chassidus, I feel God. It doesn't come with the Hashem showing His face to you from above. Hashem is concealed, and you're trying with your meditations and your thinking and your feelings to get close. Because the only way to tap into Hashem will show you His face is tzedakah. There's no other way that's what he says here. This is what brings Moshiach. There's no other button we can push. I mentioned before that everything you do is commensurate to your action. You work 2 hours, you get paid 2 hours. What button could you push that Hashem says the door's open? It's a button. It's called Nachshon ben Aminadav. Nachshon ben Aminadav came to the side of the sea, and the water wasn't splitting. And it says he went and jumped in, and the sea split. One guy jumps in, and you have 2.5 million Jews standing on the side of the thing. One guy has to push that button, make that move, and everything everything comes loose. Everything goes. This is a button. When you go and give tzedakah with $1 you can't afford that. One day someone approaches you on the street, or some person calls you up. I need $10 or $20 or $100, and today I'm not in the mood. And you came on the wrong day, had a bad day, and I just lost some money. You know what? Of course, to talk about it's a real tzedakah. We're not talking about some scammer. There's a lot of scammers today, unfortunately. It's a real tzedakah. Gulkowski calls you Israel. And you say, you know what? I'm doing it. I can't afford it. I don't have the money. I just worked really hard to earn these last. And you do it. That moment of truth is the button that you have to push that Hashem says, okay, the doors are wide open. This is a Yerushalayim Sata. The only awakening from below is tzedakah, which is called shalom. And now we can understand and go back, explain any verse that we heard in our lifetime to see how they fit so well. V'zehu pada b'shalom nafshi. That's why we say always pada b'shalom. I redeem my soul with shalom. What does it mean? With tzedakah, I redeem. It doesn't say me, nafshi, my soul. My soul, the essence of my soul, which is all my life trapped. The way to redeem it is with tzedakah. Nafshi, like my soul. Shalom. And that's one of the reasons we call tzedakah by the name shalom. We find it's called shalom throughout the Torah. That is what makes peace to us and our Father in heaven. Sometimes it seems to be a wall there. We seem to have an issue. I missed the minyan. I didn't bench. I didn't do this. I made fun of somebody. I had a grudge. I had this. Hashem says, give tzedakah, and the doors are open. That is the redeeming of our souls. What does the pada mean? My soul is freed from its shackles. The essence of my soul, the part of my soul that's actually a part of God, from the hands of the the forces of evil. The Alter Rebbe, the Rebbe says here, I think his Rebbe says it, or one of the Mashpiyim explain, the Alter Rebbe is referring here also that this is the merit. He's telling the Hasidim, you know how I escaped the Misnagdim? He just came out of jail. You know how I escaped? It's because of the Maaseh HaTzedakah that you guys did that saved me from the hands of those who want to be arrested. You know, the Misnagdim wanted the Alter Rebbe put in jail and got rid worse. And he says, how was I saved? I read this line again. Let's read it again. When the people redeem their souls, from the hands of, here he means the Misnagdim, especially tzedakah given to Eretz Yisrael, that's ultimately giving tzedakah to God. In general, we say giving tzedakah is giving tzedakah for Hashem. But there's one tzedakah which is mamish, giving it to God. and that is the land of Israel, giving tzedakah of Israel. Moshe, like it says, what's Israel connected to Hashem more? It says, Tamid Einei Hashem Aleikecha Ba. Hashem's eyes are consistently there from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, which means you're giving tzedakah to God where God's eyes are. That's God's place. Like it says, V'hayu Einai V'libi Sham Kol Hayam. Hashem says, my eyes and my heart is there always. V'hi she'amda lanu, and this is what protected us. You want to have protected us. L'vdeis chayin avshenim atzach cheshrim. What protected us from those things. Again, these are those who wanted to hurt us. Lidches pa'amenu. Those who want to get in our way, which of course is talking about the people who got in the way of the Alter Rebbe and put him in jail. To put us to God forbid block our steps forever. Put our souls in the place of absolute life. To bask in the light of Hashem. And this is what we merited. The Alter Rebbe finishes off, and this is why I merited the redemption from my imprisonment. Is for you guys giving tzedakah on my behalf, and especially the tzedakah to Israel. So what we see from here is that what is the number one method and path to go out of our own personal exile is the giving of tzedakah. And when we do the ultimate tzedakah, as difficult and as hard as, and sometimes as right now it seems not the right thing for me, that is the ultimate way to redeem our souls from all the challenges that it has. And when our in the small world of our own little journey, then like the Rebbe said in the famous Sikha, Chavches Nisan, Tafshan Aleph, the 20th of Nisan, 1991, that not only are we stuck in the general galus, but we're still stuck in our personal galus. We're still locked in our own galus. And if you think back how many times the Rebbe stood for hours and hours and gave out dollars. You think about the Rebbe's time, how precious it is. The Rebbe's time is absolutely every minute. The Rebbe had every second was a. The previous Rebbe once said that for the Rebbe, like a second is a day, something like this. That how much the Rebbe's time is precious. He stood for hours and hours and hours and gave tzedakah every Sunday, every dollars. Why? I don't know. But I would say there's some powerful connection to this point that we have to, in these moments to bring Moshiach, find more ways to give another dollar tzedakah, another coin, another tzedakah, etc. Anyway, may God bless our Yisrael to be safe and secure, and we'll resume next week, God willing.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to finish the chapter today, so I went faster because I wanted to have a fresh start.
You wanted to do something regarding.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Okay. So what's so special about when I'm learning this chapter, I saw that someone writes that this chapter is also a letter that Alter Rebbe writes as a Rebbe to a Chassid explaining that relationship. And I didn't see how. Then I thought to myself last night, I was looking over this chapter, and I thought to myself, this is exactly the theme of Yatat Tzaveh. What's the Yatat Tzaveh? The Maimer the Rebbe gave to us that explains the relationship of a Rebbe and a Chassid. There's one primary thing the Rebbe is talking about there, and that is a certain inner part of our soul, that inside soul. That's we call it the part of the Rebbe's job. Yatat Tzaveh. Your job is to wake up that inner part of our soul that's going to sense that we're broken and gullus, meaning that essence of our soul. The Rebbe does that. When he wakes that up, automatically everything goes into place, which means automatically you feel it's not that he wakes that up and that inspires you. When the essence of his soul is woken up, automatically you have all the feelings that a chassid should have. And I was thinking the job of a Rebbe, he says in this Ma'ir Yatat Tzaveh, is to wake up that pnimius hanashama, the essence of our soul. And the whole Maimer really gets to that point, that the Rebbe's job is that even in gullus, not because of Stalin, not because of troubles, even when you have a good begashmias and everything's nice, the Rebbe goes and wakes up inside you a feeling that I can't be in gullus. And he says, how do you get that feeling? That feeling has to come with, how did someone feel, I'm happy in gullus? I mean, if I have my health and my happiness in Israel safe and my friends are, if everything is good in exile, why should I want Moshiach? He says, because it's like having, if God forbid someone loses a loved one, and the whole world can be perfect. But if you don't have that loved one, nothing matters. If you don't have the revelation of godliness, nothing matters. All the Rebbe has to do is wake up that part of you that wants to feel that connection to God. Once you have that part of you woken up, that you miss Hashem, like a person misses, God forbid, a loved one, I don't have to explain to you why you should want Mashiach. I don't have to explain to you, let me explain to you why you should want your loved one back. Once I feel that way, automatically my desire once I realize the person that passed away, God forbid, is my loved one, I don't have to be explained why I should yearn for that. It's automatic. Meaning once he turns on the essence of our soul, everything else comes automatically. And that's really the same point to this. That's tzedakah turns on the essence of our soul. And Rebbe's job is to wake that up within inside of us. That's what tzedakah does. Tzedakah is, so I thought it's very interesting. The same theme, what the Yatat Tzaveh is, the role of a Rebbe is the same thing, a role of tzedakah, that it wakes up the inside of our soul. It wakes us up. And once you're awake, you don't have to be told. It's like they say, if everyone wants to give an example, if someone's sleeping inside of a house that's on fire, you don't have to wake him up and explain him to the house on fire. The second he wakes up, he'll on his own jump up and run out. Just wake him up. So, and he's not going to be upset at you. He won't be upset that you woke him up. He'll be happy. So, meaning it's not that you have to explain to a person, your house is on fire, and if you get up now, you can escape. Just wake him up, make him aware of the situation. That's what you got to do. And that's what happens with the tzedakah here. Tzedakah sort of takes your soul, that soul that you naturally feel a love to Hashem, but it's dormant. I don't. If you explain to me, I can think in meditation why I should want to be a more religious, more pious Jew. But you can wake that up. I don't have to have reasons anymore. And that's what the Rebbe does to a Yid. Anyway, I thought that was very, very interesting, the similarity. Anyway, we'll continue next week, God willing.
Thank you, Rabbi Moshe.
You're very welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Really hard to take that, because you know that the Rabbi spoke to people who don't have anything.
You mean here?
Yes.
Say what you finish your point. What?
I'm saying that if the Rabbi would talk about it today and say, you know, how much the tzedakah is so important and we have to do it no matter what, you know, Baruch Hashem, everybody today has a house, they have, job, people, okay. In those days, 1700, people were poor.
Yes.
They were really poor.
It was a different level of poverty. We don't understand that today, Baruch Hashem.
And the Rabbi spoke to them like this. It's like, what did the Rabbi want? Like to give everything they have without.
So I'll tell you a story. You're asking a very good question, but I don't know. It's a benefit. I'll tell you a story that really surprised me, but in an interesting way. There's a man whose name was a partisan. He's Zusha Volomovsky, his name was. His real job was, when he wasn't the partisan in 770 making with his hands, he was a fundraiser for schools in Israel. And he was a very good fundraiser, and not because he was an eloquent person, because he spoke with his heart. See, he once went to, his son told me the story a few years ago. His son told me that his father once went to a guy, a Chabad guy, lived in Israel, who was, sort of not that well off, to put it mildly. And he came to his house and he sold him the mitzvah of tzedakah that he was collecting for the schools, for the students that was needed and the difficulties. He sold him so much heart and soul. The guy went into his bedroom, to his closet, brought out a shoebox full of 20s, 10s, and 5s, clearly years of saving up, and he gave the shoebox to the guy. So he took it. He had quite a bit of money in there. But he felt so bad, he wrote a letter to the Rebbe. He said, I feel like I was wrong. Here I went to a guy, and I sold him, I told him the importance, which is true, but I feel like I was unfair to him. He gave away his last savings he gave. The Rebbe responded to him, you did him a favor.